Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Taste of Dragons, the Toddcast, the video game podcast that all the Witchers listen to.
Every last Witcher?
Every last one.
There's only a few left.
There are.
School of the Cat, School of the Wolf, School of the Griffin, School of the other one I never remember.
Yeah.
School of the Ursine. Just
the
a fancy
bear.
way for bear.
Yeah.
To say bear.
Fair enough.
Rar.
Roar. Well, let's see here. My name is Brian.
I'm Manda.
I'm Troy.
Davidson.
That's me.
I'm Zach. I forgot you dropped that.
That's okay.
And I'm Katelyn.
All right. So let's see here. Let's get started with the games we've been playing this week.
Yeah, I've been thinking of those segments we have. You know, we have like a catchy in for certain things.
Yeah, we do.
What's like a catchy in for like what are you playing? What are you playing?
Wow, I really wasn't expecting that, and
Yeah.
I very much enjoyed it.
You're welcome.
Nailed it off the bat. That was beautiful.
Hey.
One
like-
and done.
Yeah, that's right.
Now let's see if he remembers it next week.
Hey, it's Phil Collins.
Collins.
It'll be easy to remember.
I was 100% bought into the fact that you just made that up, and I was like, "That's great. Did you guys see that? He's really good."
I'm really good. I can sing and play the drums at the same time.
The people at home don't know that you're not Phil Collins.
No, totally not.
Well, Phil Collins is listening to his podcast since everyone
Obviously,
listens.
yeah. Everybody does.
Okay, so
There you
one
go.
person at home knows Brian isn't Phil Collins.
And that's Phil Collins.
That's Phil Collins. Curses.
I like
Well,
it.
let's get this party started. So, how about let's start with myself this week. This week, I played a couple of I just started like some games. I didn't really get into any specific game. Like Darkest Dungeon, I finally started playing, which is a pretty
Wow.
good game.
That's a hard game.
Yeah, I've died a lot.
Yeah.
And then let's see here. I played there's a South Park like card game as well on your phone. So I played that for a little bit, and I'm terrible at the versus mode.
Okay.
But the game I want to talk about this week is Overwatch, actually. I finally reached level 25 on the PS4.
You're of drinking age now.
I'm of drinking age. I can now compete.
That's right. Level 25. Now you can get into all these comp matches with us.
Just in time for the rework.
It's the best time to do it. Actually, the competitive season for Overwatch ends early.
It does.
This time,
I think it
August
ends
13th.
on the 13th,
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
that's my father's birthday. So it's easy to remember. But yeah, so I want to talk about that just because I think I played it 2 nights that were the last week with you guys, and man, it's just so fun whether we're winning or losing. Like it's just great because not only are we doing well and we're talking to one another, but we're also trash talking each other. Even though it's a cooperative game and we're trying to beat the other team.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, yeah, so you did that. Well, it's not as good as mine, but that's fine.
There's 2 games afoot. One game is, completing the objectives.
Obviously, yeah.
The other time is making your teammates feel like crap.
Yeah. Oh, so you guys did really well. Well, I guess, not well enough because I got 4 golds this match.
It works with friends.
It does. It absolutely does, yeah. But there's 5 of us, and so there's always one rando.
Yeah.
And how we did depended on how well that rando did.
Yeah, definitely.
Are you looking forward to the 2-2-2 comp?
Yeah. I mean, we kind of were doing that.
Yeah.
But
I was trying to be the evangelist on it.
Yeah.
preaching the ways of 2 tanks, 2 damage, 2 healers out there.
Yeah, but I'm looking forward to it, but it is kind of weird again because I almost always play Diva because that's just what I'm really good at. So as I'm playing it, there was one of these matches where this person on the other team was just killing us with Widowmaker, just mercilessly destroying us. So we let it go one map and we lost.
Yeah.
And then it was the next match where we were attacking and I was like, all right, the same person's there. Let's just see what we can do on attack. We were just getting stopped nonstop. And I was like, well, screw this. Let me see how good of a Widow he is. So I switched to Widow. And then like I immediately like hook up and just headshot. I was like, well, not that good. And I just
it made the opening for the rest of us to push because we were getting oppressed by that Widow.
Yeah.
So by you taking that Widow out gave us the window of opportunity for us to then push and then take the point and then the game.
Yeah, and then so we took the first point, and I was like, all right, well let's just keep pushing. So we went down to the next one, and I headshotted the Widow. The next one took out one of the other players as well. I was like, well, I guess that's all we needed. And then everybody else just pushed in. They were on the point, and I'm like all the way away. Yeah, I'm not doing nothing.
It'd be cool as if when you went back to spawn, if you were tank and someone was DPS and you were both at spawn, if you could switch.
You could, but then that's still throwing off the way that they're going to do it.
No, I'm
later
just
on.
saying if that's how they did 2-2 comp, and then when you were at spawn, you're like, hey, trade with me. And I'm like, oh, yeah, cool. You take that guy out. And
that's my main concern with it.
Yeah, that's what I'm concerned with.
If you were locked down to tank, you couldn't have done that.
I couldn't have done that at all.
And then you would have to solely rely on whoever is in that position to be able to perform efficiently.
Correct.
And without... A lot of times when it comes to games, sometimes you just have to do it yourself.
Yeah, that's what it was.
And you won't be able to do that anymore.
No.
You just can't. And so I don't know if it's going to suffer or if it'll just make everyone want to improve their skills. I'm hoping it goes that route.
Yeah, same here. Especially if you're doing comp, because, this was just quick play. We're all with one another. And so I think maybe in comp it'll be a little bit better because you will be matched with people of your exact same skill. So maybe it's like, all right, this other person's really good at Widow. Hopefully the guy on my team is going to match their skill as far as that goes. So
it'd be interesting if they reverted and kept quick play the way it is now in the future, and then the role lock, the 2-2-2, is only for competitive.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes because I know they're going to have it in the arcade for quick play classic, but we'll see how it goes.
But the arcade is for mystery heroes only, Brian.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about because it was interesting actually playing it again and be like, oh yeah, that's right. I wouldn't have been able to do this in like a month time.
Yeah, this is the last time. Get it in.
Yeah, exactly. So that's my game of the week.
Yeah.
So let's go to you, Troy. What did you play?
All right, last week, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, The Black Order, released.
Whoop, whoop.
Yep. It is the third in a franchise. It's a top-down, reminiscent of a dungeon crawler type game where you get to play either cooperatively or by yourself. And you get to play as one of the many, many Marvel characters that they have shoved into that property any which way they can. To be honest, the way it feels, do you all remember, back in the 90s when I was a young lad, I played this X-Men arcade game that had Jubilee and Nightcrawler and Cyclops. And it was just a side scroller, and you would do your moves, and then every once in a while you do your super move, and Nightcrawler would dart around the screen, and you'd be like, "This is great!" And the Magneto would say that line, and everyone would go, "Yay! All your base are belong to us."
Yeah.
And then this gives me those same feelings of just this kind of arcade beat 'em up. Press an attack button and then do a super move and don't really worry too much and just, put together your favorite dream team of Marvel heroes from Psylocke to Nightcrawler to Iron Man to Captain America to Ghost Rider. Like, just put them in and see what happens. It just seems like a celebration, especially off of this year with Endgame coming out. Like, I am ready for this type of game. It's been a long time since I played the other ones, and that Endgame year is just still in my blood of just having the ultimate combinations of characters on screen to be able to put that into a game and get that out is really, really, really fun.
Nice.
The story's they took a lot of inspirations of the characters from the movies, so they act kind of how they do in the movies. But it's there's stones, you got to collect them. You know how it is. That's what you do.
Is Thor fat?
Thor is not thick, so to speak.
Okay.
Yeah, no, his beard is thick.
Nice.
Ooh.
Yeah,
nice.
But his likeness isn't.
Uh-huh.
I tried co-op last night. Got online with Bobby just to see our friend Bobby to see how it would work online. Only a few times did his character kind of glitch around, but for the most part, it was pretty smooth. He cannot control my characters, so he can't switch, which he found relieving.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Because when you're playing the game, you're in charge of 4 people at once, and you can switch back and forth between them and manage them. So he was very happy to not have to worry about that. And he's way further in the game, so he was bringing the most insane leveled storm in Doctor Strange. At one point, we wisened up and we put 2 Hulks on the team, and it was the best thing ever. What's better than 1 Hulk? 2 Hulks. That's the answer. And we just smashed all day.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's just a lot of fun. I wouldn't say it's very in-depth. I think there was I was a little more intrigued in the older games, X-Men Legends from the early 2000s, kind of the progeny of this series. And there seemed to be more depth in that game than there is in this.
Yeah.
Just to the point of like unlocking codex and learning about the characters, or even like coordinating your costumes to get special buffs. Like if you could get the X-Men together and get the original X-Men and then dress them in their original costumes, you would get an in-game bonus to your playing, and that's fun.
Yeah.
And that is not in this game.
It reminds me of a little game known as Final Fantasy X-2.
Oh yeah, you got to dress the part.
Yeah.
You got to be able, get ready to go. Dress spheres. Good job. Yeah.
Is there a dance number?
Not yet, but there is a Deadpool, and he dances a lot.
Yeah.
By
That's
himself.
all you need. That's all you need.
Yeah. But you do get some bonuses for teaming people up. If you put Wolverine and Deadpool and Rocket Raccoon on like a team, then you get like the Smart Alec buff. You know, if you
Is Cyclops Colossus in there?
Not as a playable character.
Damn.
He does show up, and he runs at Magneto. What are you doing, bud? you turn into metal. You don't run at the metal bending guy.
You know who you are.
Come on, bud.
Wolverine does it all the time.
I know, but that's him though.
Yeah.
Colossus should know better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the story's fun. The game is fun. It's really good playing that and just kind of turning the brain off or putting on a movie or something and just enjoying video games for nothing more than just video games.
Just mindlessly enjoying video games.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's the best way to do it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. How about you, Zach? What did you play?
In preparation for Fire Emblem comes out tomorrow, which I'm really excited for. I've been trying to cram back on Shadowbringers because I kind of fell off of it.
Yeah,
just
that's
because
Final Fantasy 14, right?
Yeah, just because it's the same reason why like I re-downloaded Destiny, but like I refuse to launch it because it's just like there's so much upkeep. Like I got to log into this game every day, or else I'm gonna be behind. And then if I'm not behind, then what's the point? So I was like, I'm gonna finish at least the main story this week before I get into that because my life's over.
It's me, Destiny.
No.
log in, Zach. Come on.
The moon's coming back.
I've got some sweet dailies for you.
If they bring back Peter Dinklage, I'll come back.
There's lots of wizards on the moon.
But I didn't beat the story, but I went from like level 72 to 79. So I've done
a lot,
a good chunk of the dungeons, and right before I came here, did a giant 8-man boss fight that was like probably my favorite in the entire game so far. It is.
Oh, nice.
Wait, did you have 8 men, or was it like one person who was 8 men as a boss?
No,
just
like
on
8
top
party
of each
members fighting one guy.
Okay.
Yeah. This isn't Power Rangers.
A boy can have his dreams,
Hey,
okay?
you absolutely can.
But yeah, I mean, if you look at any of the reviews, a lot of the reviewers have said that this is not just a good expansion, but it's honestly like one of the best Final Fantasy stories that's ever been done.
Don't tell me that.
It actually 100% is. I honestly I just beat that boss, and now I know I have a ton of cutscenes to watch, and like I just want to go home and watch the cutscenes right now. It's so good.
When they say that, do they mean just the expansion or the entire story leading up to that?
This expansion, but like you make the argument that we've had. I mean, I forget how long the game's been out, but you have how many years of story that gives context.
4 or 5. Yeah,
that gives context to what you're doing. So.
Yeah, this is the best expansion story, but overall, especially because of everything leads up to this, that it is a extremely good. Probably, I agree. Probably one of the better, if not the best, Final Fantasy story. If you're in for it for the story.
Nope, I don't want to hear anymore.
Do you play on PC or do you play on the PS4?
On PC. Yeah.
Same here.
I mean, I've heard controller support for the game's really good, but MMOs are the one type of game where it doesn't feel right unless I'm using the keyboard because it's just there's too much to manage.
I'm with you.
But I don't want to spoil too much, but some of the things I suspected, I feel like, are some twists are happening and whatnot, and the fight I just did was probably one of my favorite RPG villains that like ever. I mean, that's just how good this is, and even there was a dungeon leading up to the fight where like he like ascended into the sky and had to go through this dungeon to get up to him. He's like yelling at you like loud, like a booming, ominous, godlike voice while you're going through the dungeon, and then you go and fight him, and it's just like his story is just it's so good, and the soundtrack. I should have wrote down the name of the woman who wrote it, but apparently she's only done a few projects, but when she does stuff, she just destroys, and so she's finally like making a name for herself, and the soundtrack is just extraordinary.
So future Dragon of the Week.
It's so good. I can't recommend it enough, even if you just the only problem is that I've heard a lot of people talk about this on other shows, that it's like if you're somebody who hears this and goes, oh, I just want to play Shadowbringers, it's like you can't. There's
you have 100 hours.
I mean, you can, because you can do like the power level, like you can boost, so it'll boost you up to that story, but you'll just experience the Shadowbringer story, which I don't think carries the weight if you don't already know everything before.
Did the rest of Final Fantasy.
Correct.
It's also an interesting discussion because I feel like Elder Scrolls set up a precedent that nobody else really does, is that you can just play. It seems like you can just play any. I think you talked about this.
Yeah.
You can just play any of the expansions, whatever story chunk that you want. Like you can just go into it.
Yeah, regardless of where you are, it is your level.
Right. Whereas this is still very old school. You need to, like, if you wanted to play Shadowbringers, you'd have to buy the game, all of the expansions, pay the monthly sub, buy a job boost to get you to level 70, and then buy a story boost to skip all the content. So it's like a huge monetary investment.
If you wanted to just skip to Shadowbringers.
To skip straight in from nothing.
I do think that if you're just starting out, you can start a character like that. I think they give you one free.
Okay.
I think they do give you one free if you're just starting out. They'll let you choose where you want to start and at what level. Mm-hmm. So, But even then, like, I do think you should just start from level 1 and actually experience this story. Yeah. Personally, that's what I would.
That game sounds so good. You're gonna want to start from.
Well, it's
the tippy top.
Like the original Realm Reborn, it was like good for an MMO kind of thing, and then Heaven's Word came out, and that was another expansion that has an extraordinary story to it. Stormblood was okay.
It was okay, yeah.
And then now Shadowbringers is like. It's just like it was like a little slope. Like people listening can see the slope, but it was like, boom, it's like that.
Exponential. It was. Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting that. Like, I just got way too many games.
Yeah.
True that.
Yeah.
And more coming.
They're
coming. Can't stop them.
I actually just bought Kingdom Hearts 3 because it was on sale for $20 at Best Buy.
I did the same.
You did too?
Yeah. I forgot your game again.
Yeah. It was actually
to bring you the game.
But it was 20% off though. So because I have the club membership, so it was only $16 for me.
Gotcha.
It's even better.
It's even. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just, because we go to Best Buy every Tuesday, and I was like, wait, is that $20? And Joe just my wife just picked it up. I was like, here you go. I was like, all right. Da, 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 da. But yeah, no, that game's great. I look forward to going into it. Awesome.
Right
Awesome. Well, now that brings us down to Katelyn and Manda. You guys are both playing the same game this week, correct?
Yes.
And what game was that?
Dragon Quest Builders 2.
Oh, shock.
Yeah. I said this was going to eat up my soul, and I wasn't lying.
Oh, I didn't not believe you.
I'm doing good. A chapter a week.
So how many hours have you guys put into this game?
I put between 20 and 30.
Okay.
My Switch says somewhere over 45.
And what chapter are you guys on?
Yeah, I said chapters, but because that's how it works in my brain. But the game doesn't actually delineate chapters.
Okay.
So if I think of color schemes or main
Islands.
points, I just finished the second one.
Okay.
And I have just finished the first one.
Jesus. I mean, yay, good for you guys.
Yeah.
So what are you guys taking away from the game so far?
I love it.
Yeah.
I definitely still enjoy it, but I do have a few points that the longer I play. Oh no, I take that back because I fixed it. I was having a problem. The dialogue was so slow, and I think I talked about this a little bit last week where I just couldn't get through it fast enough. But the game knows what it is. So if you go into settings, you can speed the dialogue speed up like exponentially.
Yes.
So everything that was annoying me 2 days ago, I fixed in settings. So I'm very happy.
Something that's been annoying you for a week, you fixed in like 3 seconds.
Yes.
For 42 of those hours. It's been a problem.
Well, I have another 150 hours till I'm done. So
Yeah.
Hey, Mandy, it's me, Destiny. It's Destiny. Where have you been? I thought we had a thing. You came back. We downloaded.
I played Gambit 2 weeks ago, and then Dragon Quest Builders came out.
I'm still here.
Take a Gambit and play me. So what are you guys enjoying the most about the game?
Okay, so I'm loving the fact that when when a big bad comes to try to fight my town and he destroys part of it, they rebuild it at the end of the battle. So that bothered the hell out of me in the first game because I'd go to a boss and then it would destroy half my town and I'd be like, okay, I'm screwed. I have to rebuild my town. I'm angry right now because I worked hard on this. I planned everything. The floor is a special color. The walls are special. Everything was meticulously picked out and then destroyed in 30 seconds.
And then you have to remember what went there.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
And you always have like 2 squares left over, and you're like, where did these go?
Yeah.
Like, I don't remember.
And they're not even of the same items. So you're like, what?
But this one, it automatically rebuilds it
Yes.
for you. That's good.
I don't know if you've gotten this far, so I'll be vague. But they give you like creation prompts at a certain point. Where the first island that you're on is very like linear. It's like, go build this and then go do that. And you can take more time on things if you want, but like they give you a lot of blueprints where like an object sits in a very specific place. But there's a certain point of the story where it kind of opens up and then they just give you like a more general idea. And I'm on my second one of those. And I really like it because I feel like if they set me down in like just an empty room, I would have been like, I have no idea what to do. But they've given you like just enough without being so strict. So that's kind of where I got to be creative, where I was like, oh, I had 1,000 ideas because they gave me just like a little kernel of something, and I think that was really perfect.
Yeah.
I have not hit that yet, but that sounds amazing.
So it's kind of like you're cooking something, and they're like, all right, make something, but they give you every single ingredient, so you don't know where to start, or it's just, and then like it's like, oh no, make a chicken. And you're like, oh, I can do this.
Oh yeah, I would. Yes.
I could bake it. I could fry it. I could. Yeah. Very cool. Very cool.
Yes.
Anything that you guys were not expecting? Or was it exactly what you guys were hoping for?
All and more.
Yeah.
I just got to a point where I was working on something and I got interrupted by a story beat that I could not get out of for like a good hour. And I was not expecting that. I did just get back and everything's fine. But when I got interrupted, I was like, what? What? So if you're working on something like I was, maybe just don't talk to the people with the exclamation points over their heads, just as a general video game rule.
Yeah.
Oh, I have a question for you, Manda. Do you know what the little, because I totally sped past this part in the game, the little lucky tokens or whatever that you get for solving those silly puzzles, do they do anything?
Yes, if you go to the Harry Hermit ghosty guy who lives on this house.
His name is Harry Hermit.
It's something like that. It's something Hermit.
Something like that.
It begins with an H. It might be Harry Hermit.
It's got to be Harry
Well,
Hermit.
it's back
now.
to this
It
hermit
is-
that's Harry.
Yeah.
It is now. He's also dead, so he's a ghost.
Yes.
So it's ghost hair. Woo!
Spooky.
At the top of the mountain, he trades you for unique items.
Okay.
So like you get like glasses and bows and then
Pieces
new
of his
tools.
hair.
So
Okay.
and the tools he gives you are cool.
Okay, good.
Use
worth
piece
it.
of
Because I
underwear.
got all of them from the first chapter, so I'm like, I need to do something with these, but
Yeah, you definitely have enough to get the cool tool.
And they're
Okay.
called lucky tokens?
they're like super lucky tokens or something like
You do like puzzles,
Mini medals.
like
Mini
building
medals,
puzzles.
that's it.
Yeah.
Is that what,
Oh, yeah.
is that
I'm
what,
thinking Tate's, that's why I'm going super lucky tokens.
is that what the Harry Hermit calls it? His lucky tokens?
How
You
you
wouldn't
gonna get lucky?
His
understand.
mini medals.
Okay.
Yeah. That way you're not, intimidated by them.
Oh, and they gave you new tools. Like there was a bucket or a vase or something that was
Buckets.
that was permanently filled
yeah.
with water.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Take
It's-
that, Destiny.
yeah.
We got buckets over here. And, yeah, you're...
unlimited water.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can keep your planet hopping space adventure. We got buckets and lucky coins.
I put water everywhere.
Yes, this is so much better than putting water in the first game.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's okay. We have ghosts in Destiny too.
Yeah,
But are they hairy?
Thank
No,
God,
thank
no.
God, no. Oh my God, I could not imagine ghosts having fur.
It somehow would like have hair in its mouth, even though it doesn't have a mouth. It's like, I go Guardian. Guardian. Hold on.
Very cool. And anything else you guys want to add, or anything else you guys need to talk about, or
Not this week, but
No?
I'm sure next
I'm
week
sure
this
next
is
week,
all
yeah.
I'll be playing until
Chapter
then.
1 and 2 hasn't not too much.
How many chapters are there? Do we know? or segments?
I'm guessing 4 or 5 because I think the first one had 4.
Yeah, I think it was
Okay.
4 or 5.
Okay.
I think,
There
if I
are
remember.
3 pie squares on one of the bench that I saw, but it's
Okay.
also a Japanese game. So I think there are at least 4 chapters because there's always like the chapter after the chapter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially
That
in the
would be my
Dragon
guess.
Quest games. Like, hey, here's the credits, and now here's the real story.
Yeah.
Take everything you got and use it. Awesome. Well, good game of the week, guys.
Yeah.
Very nice. And that brings us now to the news.
News.
What's new?
It's with you. Well, let's see here. Let's start this week with actual Destiny. Destiny, I think starting next week, they're going to be releasing their new armor or the last pieces of armor for this season, I guess, if you will, right before the Shadowfall.
Oh gosh.
Yeah,
One of the
it's
shadows.
Shadowfall.
Yeah.
Because Zach said
Zach
Shadowbringers
said
before, which means
Shadowbringers.
it's not that
It's
one.
not
Actually,
okay.
I think it's Shadowkeep.
Shadowkeep. There it is.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There you go. Thanks, Zach.
Hey.
Keeping us on track.
It was 4 letters. I was close. All right.
I always feel weird correcting people. I'm like,
Hey, no,
I know the
please
right
do.
answer, but I
No, please
I was gonna
correct
sit
me.
Here.
We need your knowledge.
Terrible. We're the one that's trying to bring you back to Destiny, but we don't know what it's called.
Shadow Steel, Shadow Stab,
Whatever. But
Shadow the Hedgehog. I don't know.
but last year they did the
Shadow
same
Stab.
thing, where it was like the month before the new thing dropped. They're like, all right, here's a bunch of armor stuff you guys can grind for. But as soon as the new expansion dropped, it was all
Garbage.
Garbage. Yeah, you guys couldn't use it. So this year, because of all that, this year if you grind it out and you get the stuff for this month, once the armor 2.0 comes out with Shadowkeep, it will give you armor that is the same armor, but it will be upgraded, so you can use
Okay.
it in Shadowkeep.
Okay.
But wouldn't that ruin Shadowkeep? I mean, I understand the one side where it's like, oh, I grinded for this, now it's useless. But if I played through Shadowkeep and then all of the armor I got was just as good or not as good as the armor that I had ground for before, I think I would be equally disappointed and be like, why am I even playing this? I'm not getting anything.
I think it's still like a lower level, but it will just because like last year, like they dropped like the masterwork and they did a couple other things, whereas this time they're like dropping, I think, masterwork, and you can now like input like 3 or 4 sockets into it
Okay.
of different stuff. So it'll just give you that armor with the sockets now instead of what it already is.
Okay.
So that way you can actually continue to use it and actually be able to have fun with it. So yeah. That was the Destiny news of this week. I just thought I'd throw that in there because I forgot to bring that up earlier. And then also, unfortunately, Australian game studio Defiant Development is going to be closing down. They're the studio that made Hand of Fate and Hand of Fate 2.
Such a good game.
Yeah.
It is.
Hand of Fate. It was like card collecting dungeon
Crawling.
Dungeons and
Yeah.
Dragons like style.
Yep.
Action.
Yeah.
Batman RPG game.
And then Hand of Fate 2 was rough. It was more of the same. They basically said that the games are changing and that they weren't keeping up with it because there's a lot of other now dungeon builders or card builders and all these other types of games where they were still kind of making the same thing and they weren't evolving with the times. So they released the trailer for their new game that they were working on, but it wasn't going to be released until I think Q1 of 2021. So they weren't going to have enough money in order to get to there.
Yeah, but Hand of Fate 2 was just too expensive. I
Yeah.
don't think they
No,
were
I'm with
evolving.
you.
I think
Yeah.
they were just expensive.
Yeah.
This is my fault, Brian. This is all
know.
on me.
It's on both of us.
Hand of Fate's on both of us. Hand of Fate was one of my top 10 games of that year.
It was.
And the new one came out. I'm like, I'm gonna get that now. But it came out in December. But I had to like finish all these games before the end of the year. And I was like, I don't have time to do it right now. I'll do it next year.
Yeah.
And I never did it. And now the studio's closed.
Yeah.
And it's our fault.
It is. Well, I watched the trailer for their new game. It was called, let me see here. I think it was called A World in My Attic. In my
Ooh.
attic.
That's
in my
cute.
attic. And basically it was a family moves into a house and there's they discover a board game in the attic. And
Jumanji.
it's basically Catan. So it's like a hexagonals. But as they're placing stuff down onto the board, you're a character in the game. So whatever you put on the board with extra pieces, you actually get to play that.
That sounds like the next version of Hand of Fate.
It was, but it was all visual as well. So like as you placed it down, like you would see it fall from the top and actually like settle into the world.
That's cool.
It was pretty awesome looking, but like I said, it was still like a year and a half out at least, and there was no way they're going to have that type of money.
Oh.
Yeah,
we have too much power here. We can stop tariffs, but
I
we
know.
also.
Some people are asking them to try to Kickstarter it because it does look really cool.
Yeah.
So hopefully they'll do that. Listen to us. I know you guys are listening. Everybody listens.
Everyone's listening.
Everybody's listening. So Defiant, please make that game. It looked awesome.
And thank you.
And thank you. Hand of Fate was awesome. I don't know about Hand of Fate 2. So now that brings us to next piece of news, which was new Overwatch character, Sigma.
Yes.
He got his opening cinematic, and he's also on the PTR, the public test realm.
Indeed. Yeah,
And,
Sigma is from Holland and is a mad scientist.
Huh.
Yeah.
And some of his tests went a little too close to the sun or to the gravity black hole, so to speak.
Yeah. The collapsed sun.
Yes. And it kind of paid a toll on his mind. And,
I don't even think he realizes he's the bad guy.
That's
I think it's
sad thing.
I think it's like that one meme where it's like, are we the bad guys? And I think that's him, but he hasn't come to that conclusion yet.
You saw the trailer, right, Zach?
Yes.
What'd you think of it?
It was disturbing in a good way. Like I was captivated by what was happening. It was it has that animation style where like nothing's barely moving except for like maybe like a little thing on his face or whatever. And they're telling it through dialogue in the background. And it's like,
The music was just sharply edited.
Yeah, the music choices were great. The sound effects that they had, and then the voice acting was what really made that. Because you were like, I can really feel what you're going through. And then like as his mind is devolving and as his mind is doing certain things, it's like, oh, this is really good.
And so in the state that he's in, the villain organization in Overwatch is using him.
Yeah.
Like they did with Black Widow to be a henchman, so to speak.
Yeah, and he can make black holes. He can control gravity.
Yeah, he's got a lot of control to gravity. In the game, the way it kind of works out, he can throw like 2 orbs at somebody using gravity to just like explode. And they're like mini tiny black holes.
Yep.
And then at one point, he could just bring up the ground to make like a meteor and just like lob it at you. That'll knock you back and do a lot of area damage, which is pretty great. He can also absorb damage and then convert it into shields for himself. So if someone's attacking him, he can just take that all in like a black hole, like suck it in, and then can just turn it into a defense for himself there.
Yep.
He also doesn't wear any shoes.
You know what? I didn't need to know what his feet looked like, but now I do. Now I do.
Yeah, and their feet.
Yeah, their feet. He floats. So why would you wear shoes and socks if your feet never touch the ground?
Fashion.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know. I mean,
That's a good
his
point.
calves don't touch the ground, but he's got pants.
He's got
on.
pants. It is interesting that pretty much his entire body is covered except for his little piggies.
Yeah.
That's the best kind of sneaker guy to be because you never walk on the sneakers and get them dirty. You just get to show them off.
Exactly. They can't get scuffed. Like there's nothing that can happen to them.
I just hope that his first like epic tier costume is just socks. Nothing's different. It's just a pair of booties.
No, he's actually wearing nothing but socks.
Whoa!
It's just boxers and socks.
Sigma.
If he sleeps in socks, like he puts socks on to go to bed.
That's great.
If they do sell Sigma socks, like they have Overwatch socks, like Winston socks,
Yeah.
I want those.
They're just feet.
Pointedly.
It's just feet.
I'm wearing them right now.
That'd be great. And then that brings us to our next thing, which was Nintendo is going to be fixing their Joy-Cons.
hey,
Too late. I already bought new ones.
Yeah, and so did we. We already bought, I think, 2 new pairs.
We
Yes.
returned the Switch and got a new one.
Before I knew this was a nationwide epidemic,
Right?
I was like, oh, I guess I'm just playing Smash Brothers too hard. Bad on me.
It's funny because it's happened to all of us separately. We just never. I guess we just don't talk. We're just like, yeah, this must be an isolated case, and just never brought it up with anybody else.
For people that talk about video games throughout the entire week, we somehow dropped the Joy-Con on that one.
Yeah. But Nintendo's going to be fixing them for free, and they're going to be refunding you if you already paid to get them fixed. if you have the receipts.
See, it bothers, like, it makes me happy that they're doing this, but it still bothers me a little bit because they're coming out with that new Switch where you can't just buy new Joy-Cons or send in those Joy-Cons. You have to send them your entire Switch in that case, and it makes me nervous for people who buy that one.
I agree, actually. Yeah, I 1000% agree with that.
It's funny because, like, I remember growing up, like, every Nintendo console that I had, I was terrible to. Because, like, we had we had the NES. Like, I just always remember having it. Like, I don't remember a time where we didn't because I was so young. And it never, ever broke, like one of the controllers. And it's so funny that now it's just like, well, you know, I've had it for 6 months. I guess it's just broken at this point. And like we're like accepting of that. And I could have jumped up and down repeatedly on a SNES controller and then thrown it in the pool and then dragged it behind my car, and it still would be like, yeah, it's fine, it'll work.
Oh yeah, the Game Boy.
Yeah. That's because in each one of those things there's like 3 connections and they're all the size of a penny. Whereas this new stuff, you open up a controller and everything's so tiny, everything's like soldered, and the controller, the control board is just the tiniest thing possible. And then you open up an NES controller and it's just big old fat thing. And then, like I said, like everything's the size of a penny. It's like, yeah, I don't care if like you scratch up 90% of this, it's still gonna work. We have enough surface, it's fine.
Well, glad to hear they said something about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Doing something.
Yeah. They could have just done nothing, which some companies do, but they're going to try to do something.
There was that class action lawsuit people were trying to...
Shh, we don't need to bring that up.
We're legally not allowed to talk about that.
Yeah, exactly. Which brings us to the Witcher trailer, which looks phenomenal.
Yeah, he looks like Geralt.
Yeah.
He's a thick Witcher.
Yeah, oh my God. Like,
anything he's in, I'll watch. So
I didn't think I was gonna like it when I showed like the pictures from the back. I was like, okay. But I saw the trailer and I was like, okay, he does genuinely look good.
He just has that Matt Smith disease where in motion it looks fine, but if you take a picture of it, it's terrible.
Brian, we just got Matt to start listening to our podcast again.
I'm just stating a fact, okay?
Don't compare those two men's faces. They're not nearly in the same boat.
Matt, I would like you to know that the opinions of Brian do not reflect the opinions of the entire podcast.
Thank you.
That's fair. They don't even represent me, okay? Even my brain's like, that's not fair.
The tone of the trailer looks great. It feels like The Witcher. I think the episodic content's going to lean right into the books, which by themselves are episodic content.
Yeah.
So if they just follow that, I think that this is a recipe for some success out there.
Yeah.
I think Lewis was talking about the character Yennefer looking too young on the previous podcast, but I think in the trailer they're going a different direction with her, which I really like. And I did get a sense of power from her.
Oh yeah.
That is beyond, I guess, age.
Yeah.
That translated for me.
I did enjoy seeing him do the 3 fingers as he was like swiping it forward. It's like, nice. They're keeping that. All right, cool. Even though it looks really dumb, I know what's about to happen, so it's cool. In case you don't know, that's when he's about to use his sigils.
It was funny you mentioned that. Somehow I'd never crossed my mind watching that trailer. I'm like, I wonder what kind of budget they're going to have for effects or
yeah. Well, I'm sure the next cut is actually CGI, but
I watched the panel at Comic-Con with The Witcher to see if there's anything more to glean from it, and it was just kind of cool seeing Henry Cavill, who's playing The Witcher, kind of just nerd out about it. We've known he's a big World of Warcraft fan, but he's also a Witcher fan, and he kind of heard there were rumblings of this to be made, and so he kind of told his agent, like, annoy whoever you have to get me in that role. And they eventually annoyed someone someone who was a fan of the books and was like, I never thought about making a series about it, but you keep annoying me, so I guess I will. And they're like, put Henry in it, and they're like, no, we're gonna do this properly. And they had like over 250 different people audition for the role of The Witcher, and the entire time Henry Cavill was just like, hey, I'm The Witcher. Hey, I'm The Witcher. Until eventually they're like, yeah, okay, of course you're The Witcher. Just get in here, do your thing. And it was cool hearing his passion about the game kind of come through to his passion to want to play the part.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did anyone at the panel look like Dandelion? Did they?
No.
Did they?
Nobody looked like Dandelion. But he did extensively talk about Roach, the horse.
Okay.
Yeah.
And went into a deep conversation about the Witcher's connection to Roach, which I wasn't expecting. Like, he went really deep into like the lineage and the legacy, and I was like, all right, man, you a nerd.
Yeah.
I get it.
Forgive me for having never playing The Witcher, but what kind of accent does Geralt have in the game?
In the English version, just neutral.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
He doesn't really
Yeah.
know one.
Okay. So
And they did that on purpose. I think in the No Clip documentary, when they went through it, they did that on purpose so that he wouldn't feel from any place in particular. So
Okay.
even in different languages, they still try to go for something neutral, and they don't want to necessarily give him like a Polish sound or anything
regional,
like that.
considering it's a fantasy world. They want it
Yeah.
to be, they just don't want.
well, how many fantasy world movies or TV shows have you seen where they all have British accents or something? So that's where I was.
Right. I
Yeah,
meant
yeah, I'm with
American
you.
neutral.
Yeah,
Neutral
yeah.
doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, that's true. Fair enough, yes.
And also, since he's British, so
Is
Yeah,
it?
yeah, he
Yeah.
is. It's actually great hearing him in his natural, accents or whatever. It's like, oh yeah, that's right. I forgot.
she do Superman so well
Yeah, he
that we
does
don't.
his Man from Uncle,
Yeah.
like everything. It's all just hilarious. Considering when he is like, wow, that's a really good American accent. Like, it's a really good neutral.
Oh, he didn't have an accent in Uncle?
No, not
Oh,
really.
that's funny because everyone else in that film had an
Yes,
accent.
yes, they did, which was hilarious to me. And then Armie Hammer, who is the Russian, is American, but he has to do a Russian accent, and then the British guy has to do an American accent. It's hilarious. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. I don't think they have a release date for it yet, but it's just sometime in the fall, right?
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Cool. And then I think that brings us to I think our last bit of news, which is GTA Online got a casino in there. I think it's called the Diamond Club or something like that.
Like for in-game money?
For in-game money, but you buy the money with, or you can buy the money with real money. Yes.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
this is a straight up like real life casino just put into the game. Like
Yeah.
it's like $100 minimum buy-in, but then there's like $1 million penthouse like games you can play and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I just thought it was interesting, giving all like the laws being passed in different countries with loot boxes. GTA is like, we're just gonna put a casino in. That'll get people to buy.
We're going to
currency.
get our money while we can.
Yeah, you have all these countries that are like, I wonder if loot boxes is gambling, and then GTA is like, oh no, this is gambling. Hold my beer, bam.
We didn't think of putting actual gambling in, but now that you mention it.
Yeah,
GTA is like, man, we used to get in trouble all the time, for like the prostitute thing, for the hot coffee scandal. We're just not getting in trouble anymore.
No.
What are people mad about? Ooh, gambling.
well, it's funny.
There we go.
This has been in the works for like 4 years. They've been like teasing this,
Yeah.
and it just now has finally come out in the midst of all this, loot box controversy and all this other stuff. We're like, screw it.
We're
Just put it in
GTA.
there. Yeah.
We're like the highest selling online game ever right now. So.
Yeah, you can own a strip club in this game. Who cares? Whatever. We'll see how it goes. I haven't played GT Online in like forever, so
Is it out now?
I believe it's either out now or it's out pretty soon.
Okay.
I can't remember. off
I'm
the
just
top of my
curious to see how quickly this lasts.
head. Yeah. And,
It'll definitely take. I think they'll keep it up until they get in trouble or people stop playing it.
They go too far.
We definitely don't. I out of curiosity, based on all of the loot box discussion we were having, I looked up the Florida statutes because we do a lot of gambling here, and we don't
Yeah.
have anything even close to what would cover that.
No.
So it becomes a matter of like, we don't have regulation today, so they could like issue guidance, but even that, like, think of the political spectrum, like it would take people time to agree and then talk about what to change the regulations to. So I think they're definitely smart to do it now and be like, let's get all the money we can, and then when they shut us down, at least we've made lots and lots of money.
Yeah, exactly.
We made enough money to make the next GTA.
Yeah, I think as long as they can't convert it back into real money, it's fine.
Right.
Because it's. I mean, you
fair.
can buy, you buy loot boxes with real money. You buy a lot of things with real money. As long as you can't convert it back into something physical or something electronic, it's fine.
GTA doesn't connect with Steam in any way, right?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
No.
What do you mean?
Like, because
you
in
can-
Steam you can sell,
You can trade items.
trade items and sell items for
I mean,
currency and stuff.
GTA is on Steam, so
But
Well,
I don't think
Well,
we can-
maybe everything in that maybe doesn't. I don't know.
I don't know. Because I just know that there's a handful of games where you can be like, oh yeah, you want the special gun skin?
Yeah,
you can
you
buy
can trade it.
and trade it in there, kind of like the trading cards. They have some items like that.
that
Yeah,
might be Valve
fair enough.
properties.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't remember. Yeah, but well, that's out soon or now. I can't remember. I'm terrible at this.
Choose Brian.
There's gonna be like a community of just like high rollers. That's all they do.
Yeah.
They're just like sitting there with like the green visors on and their like computer.
Yeah, then you try talking to them. They're all 13.
But really, really good.
Really, really good. Yeah. All right, and then so that's the end of the news segment, and now that brings us to our tasty topic.
Hey Brian,
What?
I had some dinner today.
Did
It was
you?
pretty good. Had a nice Guinness. It was all right, nice and full. But I could really go for some dessert.
Oh,
just
could
something
you?
that could be, something just with the palate a little bit. You have anything?
I made cookies.
I think Amanda made
Oh
cookies.
yeah, is there anything I can have with the cookies?
I don't know. I don't know if there's anything tasty with that. Maybe a tasty topic.
Ooh.
Nom, 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 nom. Rawr, rawr.
Nom, nom,
I'm
nom.
the dragon.
So I believe this week's tasty topic is you, Manda. You have.
It is the Center for Technology and Society that reports to the Anti-Defamation League.
Yes.
Came out with a report. They said that 74% of adults feel harassed while online gaming. So I thought that would be an interesting thing for us to kind of talk through. It affects 74% of adults, and we are all adults. So that affects most of us at this table.
Yes.
They said that 65% of those adults had threats of physical violence, stalking, or sustained harassment, which is extremely serious. And it's so strange that if you talk to someone about like online harassment, it's just such a given. It's like,
just
of course, that's
accepted.
just the way that it is.
Yeah.
But if you look at it like separate from that, it's so astonishing. Like someone threatened you physically, they were stalking you, and they did that for a long period of time, and there were absolutely no repercussions.
Yeah, and then I think also in that, I think it was like 29% of the people that answered the survey also that they had been doxxed, which means that some sort of
Yeah.
their personal information got posted online in
Right.
retaliation for something, and it's like, yo, it's a game. Yo.
Nothing is ever that serious.
And 29% is like, that's 1 in 4 people. That is
Yeah.
someone that you know.
That's
There's 6 of us at this table.
that's close to 1/3.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like,
Speaking of 1/3,
Yes.
they said 1/3 of all Latinos, Asians, and African Americans who were polled felt like their harassment was specific to their ethnicity, and 40% of women who were polled felt that the harassment that they were receiving was just because of their sex, just because they were ladies.
the other 60% just must never be on Xbox Live because
Which is also a good point, because they did say that there were worse games and better games. They
Yeah.
said the absolute worst game was Dota 2. Congratulations to Dota.
Jesus, worse than
that's
League?
true.
Oh, League's
that's
right
true.
below it.
Yeah. Dota 2, Counter-Strike, Overwatch, PUBG, and League of Legends.
Yeah,
There we
yeah.
go. There we go.
Yeah.
But on the other side, they did have some good games. They said that the best games were World of Warcraft, Minecraft, and NBA 2K.
Oh,
that last one was surprising.
I like how Blizzard hits the worst and the best.
just
On
like
both
their
those.
actual games. Yeah.
There it is.
So you guys want to talk about if you guys have experienced any of this? I guess. I mean, I can start because. Speaking of Dota 2, I've only ever played one game of Dota 2, and it's specifically because of that. I started Dota 2, and I was like, hey, I've never played any of these types of games, any of like these MOBAs or anything like that. All right, no, let me try it. So like I downloaded it. I was like, all right, let me quick play into a game, and then like I go into it and there's like a million characters to choose from. Like I don't know. I guess I'll choose random. So I just put random. It gave me a character. I was like, okay, cool. Let me see if I can figure out how to use these abilities. And then like you have like 3 lanes, and so like I guess some characters are better on certain lanes and some aren't. I don't know because I'm just starting this. And so I'm like, I like run up. I'm like, all right, let me just kind of do. Oh, I'm dead. That's okay. I'll just figure this out. You know, as I'm going through it, like I like died like 3 or 4 times, and then like I had just nothing but like just flaming in the chat in the chat where it's just like, dude, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. I literally don't know. This is my first game. They're
At
like,
some point, someone has to play this game for the first time.
and there's just like. It's just like one of the guys was like, oh, okay, you know, just try to figure it out. And then like the other 3 dudes were just like, nah, man, you shouldn't be playing this. You should just log off forever, blah, 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 blah. And they're just going on. I'm like, all right, well, screw you guys. I just walked into the enemy the rest of the match. I was like, if you're gonna talk to me like that, that's fine. I'll just walk into the enemy the rest of the map. And that's what I did.
And Dota matches aren't short.
No. That map was. That map was real short. So yeah, I played 1 game of Dota 2, and that was it. Because of that.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But then you have other games. Almost every other game that I play, almost everybody's pretty chill. They're like, oh, okay,
Right.
you know, try to figure this out. And as long as you're just open and honest, most of the time people are like, oh, okay, that's fine. Like, this is my first time playing this, like in Final Fantasy 14. This is my first time playing this dungeon. Oh, okay, cool. This is what you got to do. Blah, 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 blah. Just stay in the back or do this, do that. People are more than happy to help you out. But man, some of those other games, and most of the games that you mentioned, man, if you don't know what you're doing, they're just going to be like, nah, screw you. Why are you playing this?
Yeah.
There's a competitive element. It definitely attracts it hardcore.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
been my biggest experience, honestly. That's one of the biggest reasons why I never got into Overwatch more. And I've always said, like, oh, if I had like a consistent group of friends, like you guys just like ragging on each other, like if I'm terrible there, I don't care if Ryan says I suck. Like I really don't care. But like when I go online and I'm like trying to do my best, and then like you guys were kind of alluding to it last week, it's like usually a guy who's also terrible, complaining about everybody else kind of stuff. That's pretty much the extent of like when everybody takes it, I think, for a given. It's just like, yeah, that's what it is. Like Overwatch community is unfortunately super toxic and horrible. And even if 14's pretty good, MMOs are good sometimes. But even then, like if you get caught with like a certain type of person who's just like, I run with the elite crowd and I'm lowering myself to play with you peasants. And it's like, yo, I just literally, the expansion came out 2 weeks ago. I'm doing this for the first time. And then they just like rage quit on you and stuff like that. Yeah, you get used to it, but I know. But then I think there's just layers to it because that's the basis of it, and that you can just chalk up to like, oh well, there's just idiots, there's just kids on there, they're just raging all the time. But then like there's other layers to it. I'm actually shocked that you said it was only 40% for women because I have to admit, it seems like every woman I know who plays games are like, I hate playing stuff online because it's a nightmare. It's terrible.
40% said they thought it was because they were women,
Oh,
but
okay.
it's still up with the 75% of all human beings.
True.
Yeah. I still think that they just the other half just don't realize that that's what it is.
I mean,
Or like you said, they just accept it and they're not.
Yeah,
they don't-
exactly.
It's such a standard in online gaming that you don't even notice anymore. You become numb to it, or that someone says that's just what it is. And I think that's a problem.
Yeah, it's rough.
I mean, I went down like a rabbit hole at one point. There are plenty of videos on YouTube of Overwatch of people who are actually good at the game, but then there's just somebody in the game that's just ruining it, and they're just capturing it all. And you'll just watch the whole game of this, and it's like this person's like actually like embarrassing themselves. They're just acting like such a clown or whatever. But but I can't imagine being on the, like I said, I have the privilege of like, it's just like I have a choice. I can choose to just not play that game or deal with people. They're not personally insulting me, but like when you start bringing in other factors, like you said, it's like, oh well, this person sounds African American, so I'm gonna go after them for that, or this clearly a woman, so she doesn't know how to play games and stuff like that.
No one's called me any African American slurs directly because they probably don't even know. I bet they would if they knew.
Yeah.
But it is slung around me.
Yeah.
And some of it is I guess fraternal or whatever, or it's done in a casual way. It's not in a angry way, you know. In a but I don't really enjoy hearing it.
Yeah.
So I don't go online to hear that. I just don't. I'll just stick to the friends that I have, or just not get on the mic or anything like that. I mean, the few times that I have, even like one time I did on Overwatch like 2 years ago, and everyone was cool. I was like, oh my gosh, people are nice on the internet. We're working well. We're doing the payload. We're doing great.
How long did that last?
Well, it didn't take too long before Manu's in the background. She asked me a question for something, and I was like, oh, it's right over there. And not like a second later, hey, who's that? She's got a pretty voice. Hey, make her say something else. Hey, could you do that? Hey, make her say this. I was like, no, come on. What? How are you like?
We're doing so well, guys.
And like you're being like proxy creepy.
Yeah.
And like you're there on the bed like, just like
I'm not playing this game. I'm living my life in my house.
you didn't ask for this. It's not, that makes me really sad.
Yeah, I've experienced it, something like that, where I forget what game I was playing, but it was there's voice comms, and I don't do that, but I can type out in the computer, and so like one of my teammates is a girl, and they start talking, and then you just have a bunch of like two of the guys are like, oh hey, how's it going? Hey,
they get all weird.
Hey, where you live? Hey, why don't you do this? You're really good at this. And then it's just like goes like the really creep factor, and it's like and it's just like I'm like typing on the keyboard like just stop, just stop.
What has been your all experiences in that realm?
The two women here.
Well, I have a deep-seated trauma with competitive games, so I generally avoid them. My brother owned the Xbox when we were growing up.
Oof.
So whenever he got a brand new game, we weren't allowed to play it for like 2 months, and then you were allowed to play it after he was phenomenal at it, and you were still trying to figure out what was going on. So it became a game of just being told that you were terrible at it and then dying over and over and over again. So generally I'm a little more sensitive to competitive games than other people.
Your brother was the internet.
He was he was my own personal internet. I love you. But I feel like every time I've ever tried to do it, it's just been that. It's like either I'm trying to learn to play and everything is so phenomenally toxic, or if I get on voice comms, then it does become just like overwhelmingly creepy, where even if I'm doing well, it makes me feel uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Like either comments about my voice or just really super invasive questions, or just people being generally odd, like trying to show off or like trying to be like overly personable, and it's just like I get so uncomfortable that I'm just like, it's not worth any game. And there are so many other games to play.
I've been in a group where everything was normal, and then like a female would join, and all of a sudden there were just dick jokes everywhere. And it's like, why is this a thing all of a sudden?
I had one game where it was like that, or like I think the one game I had where it was a girl playing and everybody was cool. I was like, oh wow, this is really nice. This is a change. It gets to the very end of the match where we win, and then every single guy's like, hey, you want to join my team? Hey, you want to join up? Hey, you want to join up? Hey, whatever. And it's just like, oh yeah,
I can help you rank up.
Yeah, exactly. We just like you, we've played like 3 matches together, and they're all never wanted to rejoin. They never said please join my team with any of us. We just happened to be in the same team the next couple of matches, and then as soon as there's one girl, it's like, hey, you want to team up? Hey, you want to team up? It's like, Jesus. How about you, Katelyn?
No, it's been a constant in my gaming career.
Yeah.
Back when I played Guild Wars originally, I started luckily. It starts out as a good experience and then it turns bad very relatively quickly. So for Guild Wars, I originally played because a friend of mine played and we got into it and we would play together, and he was cool. He was just a friend. It was never anything crazy. But then I ended up joining his guild, and then all the guild people made everything creepy. So then I had to stop playing Guild Wars for a little while. Then it was fine for a few years. I really didn't play anything else that would be online. And then I discovered League of Legends. And it sucked because I started playing with a group of friends, and probably 3 out of the 7 people that were in our group were awesome as me as a beginner. Like, totally understood. Oh, you don't understand any of this. You've never played a game like this before. You're fine. Here, let me teach you. This is when you do this skill. This is when you do that. This is the lanes, and being super cool about it. Mm-hmm. And then the other 7 or the other 4 of the 7 would be acting like they're understanding until we're actually playing, and then they just start getting super rude, start yelling at me. Just be a healer. No one cares about a healer. Just be the healer. Don't worry about this crap. Sorry, Joe, I keep throwing out. And then they would just pigeonhole me. Well, no, you're not a good of this. I'm just going to take this. It's like, well, I can't get better if you guys are going to be on me like this. And then I would go play with randos because I'm like, okay, well, you guys are being jerks, and I'll just wait till it's just the other 3 that I like playing. So I play with randos, and it'd be even worse. And then I always play with my username's Penny Lane DC and everything, or Miss Penny Lane DC. So it's obvious I'm a girl.
Yeah.
So even if there's no voice chat, because in League you don't need voice chat, I still have the feminine username. So people will still be like, yelling at me like, "Oh, slut, go do something else," and like just throwing out any rude phrase they can come up with. And it's like, I don't play I play League once a year now, every year, just for the winter event, and I only play like 2 or 3 times because then I get my fix in and then I don't have to worry about people again.
Yeah, it's like what are you doing on the computer? Shouldn't you be in the kitchen?
I've heard that many times.
Yeah.
It's even weird because it's subtle sometimes, where it's not like, sometimes it's overt and terrible, but sometimes it's just like everyone will be picking their role and be like, "Oh, you should play the healer." And
oh,
it's like,
always.
Why specifically me? And like I said, I've had video games my entire life. I don't remember a time where I wasn't playing video games. My mom bought a console for herself before I was born, so it was always in the house.
Yeah.
But even I feel like I have to prove that I'm good at things.
Yeah.
Like, I can't just start a game and be like, "Hey, we all started at the same time." I feel like I have to try harder to be like, "No, I'm just as good as you are. I can totally play DPS if you need me to."
Yeah.
Which is stupid and unfair.
In League, I was a great Katelyn. I would rank S class.
Is Katelyn a player?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, she's chosen because of my name. I'm not gonna lie, but I was great
going
at her.
with it. I was like, you are a great Caitlyn.
I think you're always a great
You're
Katelyn.
the best Caitlyn in that game.
But I was actually really good at her, and every time it would be a character selection, and I like if it was. They did the thing that we were talking about last week with Overwatch, where it was okay, you have to pick a role ahead of time. So I would pick the ADC every time, and they'd be like, "Well, no, you should play Sona, you should play a healer, you should play anything else. Leave the ADC to me. I've got this." And it's always like this guy who's voice chatting and who's a total jerk, and it's like, "No, I'm gonna play Katelyn," and then I win my lane, but you lost jungle because you suck.
Any suggestions on what we can do?
Unfortunately, I think
what can be done
at this point, because unless you're going to heavily censor something, which I don't think ever really lasts, because every single troll is going to get around that in some capacity.
We found a really amazing, I don't know if this actually happens, or if we just thought it happened and then that was almost just as good. But Troy and our friend Bobby were playing GTA Online. And
these are the early days, PS3 beta, before it was a thing.
And they were playing like the jerks.
Well, we didn't start off that way. We started off just playing GTA Online, doing heists, and then we decided we were going to be done with the game. So let's be as GTA as possible.
Yeah.
Stole people's cars, ran them into the ocean, gunned people down. We were just, like you said, jerks.
And GTA, I don't know if GTA actually did this, but if they did, then this is perfect. They just sent them to a server where everyone was like that. It's like, if you want to play like this, totally play like that, but welcome to the hell of the internet. And
it was the hell of the internet. I've never heard so many slurs about so many things. No one was left out. Everyone was angry, raging. No one could understand why everyone was angry and raging. And we just went around and we're just like, oh, this is what happens. This is what happens when you're a bad boy.
Oh, we thought we were jerks. We're not.
but I like the idea of that, is that the better you play, the more they put you with people that are just adults and friendly and empathetic. But if you want to be that person, fine, but like, go be that person with everyone else who's just as angry as you are.
Creepy dude creepy on this other dude, and this creepy dude creepy on this other dude. You all just creep each other.
Yeah. Equal opportunity creepers.
Yeah.
But I don't know if there's really a thing that you can solve. I think the only thing you can really do is just get either thicker skin, if you're, because this is just going to happen in almost every single game, or just try to play games that just have good communities in them.
What were the games again that you said had the best communities?
WoW, Minecraft, and NK.
NBA
2K. NK.
The WoW thing shocks me personally.
I think it has gotten better, because I think a lot of those people have moved on to other games that don't cost a monthly subscription.
That's fair.
There's also room in those games to make like a community for yourself. Like, it's the same thing with 14. Like, I'm never going to get into Savage endgame rating, so I don't ever deal with those people anymore.
Yeah.
And there's enough content in the game that you can still experience almost everything with people who play it, a more casual thing. So when I drop into a random dungeon, more often than not, they're just not going to say anything, and I'm not going to have a conversation. But every once in a while, you do get paired with that guy who's decked out with everything like that, and he's just automatically just like everybody's garbage and I hate everybody. And I'm just like, why do you even play this game? Like, you clearly are not having fun. Like, I don't understand. But I mean, I tend to agree that unfortunately, it seems to be like a lot of those people, in my experience, unfortunately, are people who tend to also be somewhat decent at the games, and they always seem to have a poor attitude about who they're playing with, and they kind of like, it becomes more of like a gatekeeping kind of thing. It's like, oh, I'm going to be awful to you because I don't want you to play the game because I think you're bad. So therefore you should just exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the most common type of way I deal with it, and I just don't know. I think some games, maybe even Overwatch, tried this. It's been so long since I got on, but like the only other thing I could think of and that could do something similar to the GTA thing is that maybe like some sort of like end of match system where like you can assess the people you played with.
Yeah.
And even if this guy's like has a god tier SR, like, well, he's always awful every time he plays. So then maybe they matchmake him with people who have similar.
Yeah.
There's a lot of robust report systems that are very detailed and followed up on. There's endorsement levels, so if someone's being really good, you can give them props, you know, to help promote people to want to do better. And then there's rewards for being a better person online or being a team player.
Yeah.
You know, there's focus that they're trying to take away from just how many KDRs or what your KDR, instead of, you know, showing the negatives, they only show the positives. There's a lot of positivity that they're trying to enforce to try and show more empathy in games. But you're right. The trolls are plowing through that. I mean, I just think maybe, I don't know, I want to be a little harsher maybe. Like, I'm going to sign up for the AI that'll listen to us all the time. And when you say something gross or say something offensive, it's just like, boom, banned.
Yeah. I do think, now that you mentioned it, I do think Overwatch does have a good system. I think most games need to have a report system at the very least, which I'm still surprised games launch now that don't have a report player. It's crazy to me. But I do think that does help. It's just that is also manpower that game now has to invest in order to review. Because then not only do they review your report, but they also have to review what they said in the chat logs.
I think they should be required to. I think it's irresponsible for them not to.
I agree.
It's the idea that it's not their responsibility. Because even if you sign up for a game now, it's very much geared towards, we are responsible for your entire experience unless you're online, in which case, like, we just are devoid of ownership of that
Wild
experience.
West.
Yeah, which I think is just, again, irresponsible.
Yeah.
Is you've put people in this position. I have to have this experience to fully enjoy your game, and you're not moderating it. Or if you are moderating it, you're moderating it really loosely. You making money has taken precedence over my safety and well-being as a person, and that seems unfair.
I think it's going to take one company to step up and to take it more seriously and to really crack down on that and lose money by doing that. But then hopefully it'll inspire others to make that a norm.
Yeah.
I would say on the plus side, the Anti-Defamation League, the people who came out with this report, are doing some research, and they intended to post findings later, and I'm going to continue to monitor it. So if they come up with any ideas or cool suggestions, then I'll definitely bring them up on the podcast.
Nice.
An ongoing taste.
I want them to, okay, so someone says a terrible slur against you or something. It automatically records that. You have to connect to your Facebook to play this game, and it sends that to your mom.
We did talk about that a little bit today, because we talked about the Overwatch recording. They record your last 10 matches, and it was starting internet justice because people were going back in time being like, hey, remember when you were angry? Well, this is what you also did. I actually think that would help. Is if they recorded the audio. I know there's negative ramifications there, and they probably couldn't do it all the time for everything.
Yeah.
But the idea that what you say is available forever takes away a little bit of the anonymousness of it.
Anonymity.
Anonymity, yes.
Well, the Blizzard did try to implement a real ID system where you did have to put in your credentials or some sort of your address and all this other stuff. But there's a huge backlash because it is, I mean, we've already seen Experian and all these other places, they get hacked. So your personal information could be out there.
Your personal information is out there.
Oh, I know it is. I know where you work. Yes, no, I know. But you know what I mean, though. There is a certain form of anonymity that you should have.
Why?
You should have. I know you work for big data, but that there was such a backlash from that Blizzard actually did step that back, and they didn't implement their real ID system. But I do and Troy was saying earlier that some games will either fail or not depending on their community. That's what happened with EVE Online. EVE Online actually had a really toxic community for a really long time, and their player base was going down because new players were just not getting into it. And then both the company and the actual players realized, well, we can't keep doing this because we're just going to die off. So now there's sanctioned different player groups that are just welcoming in new players. As soon as you spawn, they're like, hey, look, you want to join our group? We can show you exactly how to do everything. We can be really cool. And then they're trying to do that. So there are games that are trying to foster that, especially if they are smaller games like EVE Online.
Right on.
Yeah. So I think, I don't know, I think reporting and whatnot is the best way, or the AI. I think AI kind of doing that is going to be probably the best thing because it's the most cost effective.
We were saying if they do AI, it can't be Sony's PlayStation AI because we never say the word PlayStation in the house, and all of the time it pops up to be like, "Hey, did you need help?" Like, no.
Go away.
I said microwave. How did you even get that? What?
Yeah. So good tasty topic.
Yum, 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 yum,
Rich
yum.
topic.
Yeah, that was meaty. So that brings us to our Dragon of the Week.
It's the Dragon of the Week. Yeah, it's so chic.
Oh, whoa.
It's the Dragon of the Week.
Oh.
It's not very meek. Dragon of the Week. Dragon of the Week is our chance to put a spotlight on industry professionals who have influenced us, and we want to show a little love to the people that are making the games that we talk about every week.
That's right. And this week's Dragon of the Week is Zach. Take it away.
Oh, it's me?
That is you.
I mean,
Well done.
I'm glad I've done for video games, and
It's actually
Bravo.
specifically you, Zach.
your first live.
You and Nobuo.
Funny that you mentioned Nobuo. I'm keeping in the theme of composers.
Right
All
on.
right.
And someone who has not a super close, but a good working relationship with Nobuo. His name is Yasunori Mitsuda. One of my favorite composers of all time. I kind of wrote a novel here, so I'll try not to keep us here too long. But I think he's an interesting guy as well. Mitsuda he's 47 years old right now. He's still living in Japan. He has a similar story to a lot of the people we have in games who he early in his life had no connection to video games or anything like that. He wasn't even a musician. He was actually an athlete and thought that was what he was going to do with his life. But then he had said that whenever he was in high school, he watched the films Blade Runner and Pink Panther specifically and was so
It's the same
Just
movie.
enamored.
confounded
Yeah.
by the different types of scores and the music and how
Okay.
much they made the ambiance of the films and whatnot. He's like, I want to do something like that. And so not only did he start working with pianos to teach himself how to play, but he also got his father to get him his first computer. And he started programming his own games just so that he could compose music for them. And that's how he got started doing this as a teenager.
That is a very roundabout
very
way.
ambitious. Very ambitious. I'm going to teach myself computer programming and then also write music. I thought it was pretty intense. I thought it was pretty unique, especially considering a lot of stereotypes around Japanese upbringing. He had a family who's supported his uniqueness and was
okay.
you should totally do whatever it is you want to do. And he didn't get to go to a really prestigious school. He went to a really low budget music school. But because he was very grateful for the experience he had there because he got to see a different side of it where a lot of his instructors would also part-time musicians who would go do gigs and he would volunteer to help them he would be almost like a roadie for them, rig their stuff up for them and go there and get to see that people play different kinds of music and also get more experience with different types of equipment and sound producing and whatnot. And he kind of built up his resume doing that.
Nice.
He would take his first position as an intern for what was called Wolf Team at the time, and nowadays I don't know the exact name, but it's a branch of Namco Bandai.
Okay.
The branch that makes the Tales of games and whatnot. So this is who they were back then. He worked under Motoi Sakuraba, which is another very famous composer who's done the Tales of series, Star Ocean, Smash, Pokemon, Golden Sun. So he got to intern under a very high profile guy, just it just seems like the stars just keep aligning for this guy.
Yeah.
He just decided he wanted to do something really cool. After he served as an intern there, he got his first paying job with Square Enix. He described he was actually interviewed by Nobuo Uematsu for the job, and he said the interview was a horrible disaster, but apparently it wasn't that bad because he gave him the job. But similar to Nobuo, he said, I don't really care about the Square company. It's just a job, and it's going to be the stepping stone to get me to do actual real work, you know. And he worked there for like 2 years, and even though he had like the title of like video game composer, he never was given any actual projects. He was mostly just doing like sound producing and like making sound effects and whatnot, to the point where he finally just kind of like snapped on Hironobu Sakaguchi, which is the creator of Final Fantasy and the VP of Square at the time, and said like, look, you're giving me a game and you're going to start paying me more. And they had like this big thing, and Sakaguchi was like, well, we'll give you a project, and if you actually succeed with it, then maybe we can talk about giving you a higher salary.
What project is
what,
this?
What was that game?
Oh no, is it? I don't know. Is it Kingdom Hearts?
Chrono Trigger.
That is shooting for the stars there, sir. Hey, listen, if you don't take your shot, you never score.
I mean, maybe they had no idea what they had whenever they were making Chrono Trigger, but probably a little bit out of anger with his relationship with his employer, but also with the opportunity to prove himself, he like dove into this 12,000% to the point where they described his work ethic, that he was basically not ever sleeping and just working nonstop, to the point where he'd be in the studio like and falling asleep on top of his keyboard. And he even mentioned that some of the songs that he wrote just came to him in dreams when he was passed out like that. For example, one of my favorite songs he ever wrote, the ending song to Chrono Trigger, to Faraway Times, he said it just came to me in a dream, and I just woke up and wrote it down and just kind of did that thing.
That's because he fell asleep on the keys. just making that music.
He's like turning, and then it's like,
It actually got really bad. He like finished like 90% of the game, but he had been working himself so hard and making himself so sick with stress that he started to develop like very serious like stomach ulcers and was hospitalized over the whole thing. And that's when his superior Uematsu had to step in and write some more tracks and finish it for him.
Okay.
But nevertheless, obviously Chrono Trigger was a gigantic success, so it gave him a lot of it gave him a lot of notoriety. He's similar to Uematsu, I think, in that like a lot of games, I guess, maybe cater to a specific style, but he was more interested in like his other musical influences outside of video games, like jazz and folk music and whatnot, and it really shows through a lot of what he does.
Sweet.
He would work with Uematsu again. His next project was Front Mission, a game I've never played.
I remember those.
Yep.
And Uematsu said again, like watching this guy, like he does not handle stress well. He would just constantly work himself and make himself sick. Like he doesn't have like a good work-life balance. When he does something, he just works himself to death and just kills himself over what he's trying to do. The next big thing, another game that I'm a huge fan of, was Xenogears. He wrote the whole soundtrack and wrote the first ever ballad that was in a Square-produced game.
Really?
Is the ending song
special.
to Xenogears. It was the first time that something... It was actually surprising because Nobuo Uematsu does so many Final Fantasy songs brings in female vocalists or whatever, but he was technically the first to do it for the ending theme to Xenogears. He did a lot of like I don't know where he found the time, but in addition to composing, he would go and do like side projects where he would do like acid jazz remixes of like Chrono Trigger and stuff like that. But unlike Uematsu, he actually kept through on his word. He got his work experience and then he quit Square and said, I'm just going to be a freelance composer. I'm not being owned by a company anymore after what I went through there, basically.
After all those,
but then immediately was hired by Square to do another project, which was Chrono Cross, because they were like, "Well, you did the first one, you need to do the next game." Chrono Cross is honestly, like, I think maybe overall as a video game soundtrack, might be my favorite video game soundtrack.
I'm with you there.
They're
That's really good.
We got you this really nice desk pillow.
And then I had a quick rundown of some of the other things he's done: Xenosaga, Shadow Hearts, Inazuma 11, an anime. Xenoblade Chronicles 2, episode Ignis for Final Fantasy 15, the Black Butler anime. He did a couple solo albums. He co-designed the Korg synth programs for the DS and 3DS that's on there. I didn't even know the DS had a Korg synth program, but he actually helped make those and put those in there. So he's done a whole bunch of different kind of stuff. His process he described about how he writes music for games is that he, I think, like you were talking about Enon Zur last week, he takes about a month to consume as much as he can about the project before he starts writing it, because he also cares about making music that is actually significant to the game. And I thought it was a funny comment. He said he wouldn't go through a game and go, oh man, this game, I don't think it's so good, and then just kind of like mail it in. He would go, well, at least my music will be like the one good redeeming quality about this game, so I'm still gonna write like really good music for this. Like, that was his attitude.
He's like, at least they're not going to say the music sucked.
And there's a nice quote. He said, I think the music should be something that lasts with the player. It can't be some random music, but has to be something that makes its way into the player's heart. I feel very strongly about composing something that will leave a lasting impression. And I think that's like a perfect way to describe several of the games that I mentioned. Like,
That's a beautiful quote.
yeah,
I
I just listen to. I just randomly get songs from those games in my head randomly at times. I mean, yeah, that's pretty much it. Like,
Hey, that's
I
a
mean,
good quote to end on, man. That's awesome.
Like a lot of like the Chrono games and Xenogears especially, they're much like the Final Fantasy music. It's celebrated in orchestrated concerts like all over the world and whatnot.
I love this because Chrono Cross is one of my favorite soundtracks of all time as well. Yet I, in my dumbness, have never looked up who did it. I'm just like, oh, Square.
It's good.
Thank
That's
you
all
for
I
bringing
know.
that. Yeah.
Such a unique sound, and he just did crazy things with, like, again, like knowing the game. That I mean, if you've never played Chrono Cross, it's basically a game where a character traverses between two parallel worlds of the same world, but the circumstances of what is happening to those worlds is different. So you'll hear the melody for a town, but then go to the other world, and it's like a melody, but it's been flipped to fit. Like, maybe something bad happened there, so it's slower and more somber and whatnot. It's just,
In one world, you're you. In the other world, you're your nemesis, your enemy.
yes.
It's pretty amazing.
It's pretty awesome. All right, well, good Dragon of the Week there, sir.
Yeah, snaps to that.
Very nicely
Snapdragon
done.
to
And I
that.
think, Katelyn, you have some news.
I forgot this earlier.
That's okay. We always save Nancy Drew for last.
We really do. I forgot that a new character little blurb was given out for the new Nancy Drew game that will supposedly come out this year in November.
Supposedly.
Her name is Deidre Shannon, and high maintenance Deidre Shannon has spent her life hovering in Nancy's shadow and lives with the knowledge that she is the girl who would have become Nancy Drew had circumstances turned out better for her.
All right. Deidre Shannon, that sounds like a high maintenance person. Like,
Yeah, you can look in the picture. She doesn't look that happy.
no, she
Oh,
doesn't.
no.
She also doesn't look that high maintenance. She's just wearing like jeans and a
And a
sweater.
jacket, right?
Because she can't afford it. Nancy Drew got everything. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, Nancy's
reaching
dad
there.
is a lawyer, so
Is she the Oswald the Rabbit to Mickey Mouse?
oh, maybe
Okay.
Yeah, it could be like
we'll
that.
find out.
Yeah, we'll find out in next year.
Hopefully not next
Yeah, I
year.
know. I hope it's November for your sake.
Yeah, I might. Like the crying will never stop.
No.
Ooh, they have Nancy Drew pop sockets now.
Okay.
Ooh. Well, that's this week's Taste of Dragons, everyone.
Yeah,
Good episode.
Yummy.
Good episode. And as always, we film live upstairs in Tate's Comics, powered by our friends at 3000 Brigade.
Bum,
yeah.
bum, bum.
Bum, 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 bum.
Yeah.
And then you can always catch us online on the Facebooks and the Instagrams.
Yeah.
This week, what do we have?
We got a lot of content on Instagram. Come on over and read it about. We have Ranking of Dragons, our quest to rank every video game dragon in video game history. We add a new dragon every week. So this week we had
Chef Dragon.
Captain Dragon
That was
from
Captain Dragon.
Wonder Boy,
Yes.
the 80s series, which is pretty great. Check on there to check that out. And this week in gaming history as well, we had Mother
Yep.
in July
Mother.
27th, 1989. Nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, and a bunch of other fun stuff on Instagram. So come check us out for some Taste of Dragons content throughout the week.
Yep, definitely. And then also, don't forget to like and subscribe on the various platforms. Give us a ranking, if you will.
Hey, ranking of Taste of Dragons.
Rankings of Taste of Dragons, yeah. So once again, my name is Brian.
I'm Manda.
My name's Davidson.
I'm Zach.
And I'm Katelyn.
And that was this week's Taste of Dragons. Have a great week, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Hi.
Boom.